Okay, so let's talk about SNDT College in Juhu, Mumbai. By all accounts, it's a totally normal, well-known college, but like a lot of old places, it has a secret, a part of the campus that everyone knows you just don't go to after dark. This is the story of what happened when one skeptic decided to push his luck and challenge that very legend. So you have to picture this campus. It's really a tale of two worlds. On one hand, you've got the new, modern building. It's bright, it's bustling, it's totally safe. But right next to it sits this old, crumbling structure. It's been abandoned for years, it's dark, silent, and as the stories go, haunted by the ghost of a very, very angry teacher. And this is where we meet our main guy, Rohan. He's 20 years old, and you know the type, a total man of logic. Ghosts, spirits, to him, that was all just a bunch of nonsense people tell around a campfire. So when his friend told him the stories about the haunted building at SNDT, he didn't just disagree, he actually laughed in her face. Well, as you can imagine, his friend was pretty annoyed, so she dared him. Basically said, if you think it's all a joke, prove it. And Rohan, full of bravado, accepted on the spot. He and his best friend Vishal cooked up a plan. They'd sneak into that old building and finally put these ridiculous ghost stories to bed. So, fast forward to 1:30 in the morning. They're on campus, sneaking around in the dark. You can just imagine the scene, right? Their flashlight beams are bouncing off these decaying walls, cutting through thick cobwebs. Every time they push open a door, the rusty hinges just let out this awful groaning sound that echoes through the whole place. The second they stepped inside, it was like a switch was flipped. All the noise from the city just vanished. All that was left was this incredibly heavy, oppressive silence. It was so quiet, so unnatural, that the only thing they could hear was the frantic pounding of their own hearts as they crept deeper into the darkness. They're poking around these old, empty classrooms, and so far, nothing. Just dust and decay. They're probably starting to think this was all a waste of time. And then it happens. A sound. It's faint, but it cuts right through that dead silence and makes them both freeze. Someone else was in there with them. And what they heard was so weird. It was a woman's voice, coming from a classroom down the hall, and she was just reciting multiplication tables, calmly, methodically, like a teacher giving a lesson. The fact that it was so normal is what made it absolutely terrifying in that empty, silent building. Vishal was immediately ready to bail. He was terrified. But Rohan, Mr. Skeptic, was still convinced this was all some elaborate prank. He grabs Vishal, determined to march down there and expose whoever was messing with them. But as they got closer to the door, the voice stopped, and they were hit with this wave of intense cold, like walking past an open freezer. They looked inside the classroom, completely empty, just broken desks and an old blackboard. Rohan was probably just about to say, "See, I told you so," when the voice started again. Only this time, it wasn't calm. It was loud, echoing, and just filled with this raw, terrifying anger that completely wiped the smirk off Rohan's face. Then it got worse. Over the angry chanting, another sound, a sharp, stinging crack, like a slap. And it was followed immediately by the sound of little kids just sobbing in fear. Rohan is whipping his flashlight around the empty room, but there's absolutely nothing there to explain what they're hearing. Their panic is already through the roof, and then a new sound starts up. It's this dry, rhythmic scratching, a horrible sound. They realize it's coming from the front of the room, from the dusty old blackboard. With their hands shaking, they both point their flashlights right at it. And this is the moment that all their skepticism just completely shattered. A single piece of chalk sitting in the tray lifts up into the air, all by itself. And it starts to write on the board, guided by a hand that they absolutely cannot see. The message it scratched out was simple and chilling. I was killed here, and now I want my revenge. In that single instant, it was all over. This wasn't a prank. This was real. And the only thing to do was run. They bolted out of that classroom, scrambling down the stairs in total darkness. Rohan bursts through the main doors, gasping for air, and it's only then that he spins around and realizes he's alone. He screams Vishal's name into the night. No answer. His friend was still inside. In a total panic, Rohan's eyes dart across the front of the building, and then he sees him. Up on the first floor, there's Vishal, framed in a classroom window. He's crying, pounding his fists on the glass, completely trapped. Rohan knew, right then, he couldn't just leave him. He had to go back in. So, with whatever courage he had left, Rohan raced back up those stairs. And when he got to that classroom, what he saw was pure nightmare fuel. Standing there was a woman in a black sari. Her face was horrible, swollen and decayed. And her eyes, they were just a blank milky white. She slowly turned her head and gave him this awful, chilling smile. And Vishal, he wasn't at the window anymore. He was just sitting on the floor in front of this thing. His eyes were glazed over, and he was just chanting the 2 times table over and over, while the spirit stood over him holding a stick. The spirit turned its blank eyes from Vishal to Rohan and started to move toward him. That's all it took. Rohan didn't even think. He just turned and ran, but in the panic, his foot slipped on the stairs. He went tumbling down, his head hit something hard, and everything just went black. Rohan's eyes flutter open. He's groggy, his head is pounding, and nothing looks right. The floor is wrong, the ceiling is wrong. He has no idea where he is. This isn't the college. He's in Vishal's apartment, lying on the floor. Vishal and a couple of other friends are there, staring down at him. And Vishal starts to explain his version of the story. He says he ran out of the building, realized Rohan was missing, and then saw Rohan screaming for help from that first floor window. So he called their friends and they all went inside to find him passed out cold on the stairs. Rohan is just completely stunned, shaking his head. The memories are all jumbled, but he's sure about one thing. No, he says. No, that's not right. I saw you. You were the one trapped at the window. I went back in to get you. Vishal just looks at him, his face completely pale, and says, "What are you talking about, man? No, it was you. We all saw you. You were at the window screaming." Their memories of the exact same event are completely, impossibly the opposite of each other. But here's the one fail they all agreed on. When those other friends went into the building to rescue who they thought was Rohan, every single one of them heard it, the faint sound of a woman chanting her tables, and the ghostly sound of children crying. Needless to say, after that night, their skepticism was gone forever. That building was haunted, and they were never going near it again. And that story still gets told among the students at SNDT today. They say that teacher's ghost is still in there, waiting. And it leaves you with this really unsettling question, doesn't it? Did the spirit mess with their minds, making each of them see the other one as the victim? Or was the terror so intense that it literally broke their memories? We'll never know for sure, but it's a chilling reminder that some legends are best left unchallenged.